Hello, welcome to the third episode of EURO's project show, Cooking Politics. And today we are going to cook and discuss a very important and global topic, energy security and environment. And today we invited two experts in this field, Kadi Kenk. She is a member of management board of Let's Do Foundation, who is dealing with concepts of circular economy, zero waste, and helping local governments and community leaders to implement these concepts. And also Mart Raamart, who is a head of Estonian oil unity. And he also had union, and he also have some experience in working in the field of environment, because he worked in the Ministry of Environment of Estonia. And today, since we are going to discuss topics of environment and decarbonization, we decided to do our small contribution in the process of decarbonization, and we decided to cook something vegetarian. And by the way, we are now in one of the most eco-friendly buildings of Tartu, in Tartu Loodus Maja. So let's start what we are going to cook today.
Totally Estonian things, yeah, Kadi?
Yes, you couldn't get more Estonian, I suppose, but with a hint of inspiration from Italians.
Exactly. But we have mostly ingredients that aren't from Estonia, only the white bread is really Estonian.
Fully.
But tomatoes and cucumber are from Estonia, as well as garlic and I think onion is from Estonia. I will be cooking salad with cheese, feta cheese I think it is. Yeah, great. And Kadi?
Yes, and I will contribute with some of the bready stuff and make some bruschettas.
Good
Great.
pronunciation.
So let's...
Shall we start then?
Shall we start? So, and the first question that I have to you, Mart, now the topics of energy security and the environment is very popular in the European Union. And how you would characterize in general now the situation in the energy sector of the European Union? What is the European Union promoting now? What is doing? And now we know that European Union recently made a new Green Deal, that it's a project of the EU that wants to reduce consumption of energy, wants to reduce CO2 emissions, and how you would explain the situation in the EU now in energy and environment?
I think it's, you pointed out correctly, EU is really taking on this kind of a green idea, and they are promoting it, and they started doing it already some years ago, because there was definitely a big voice from European voters that they want to have more environmental politics on EU agenda, and the Green Deal is now, let's say, the most important policy document of the new Commission, and of course the main idea is to reduce even more our carbon emissions, and the EU has really seen as a really global leader on the reduction of CO2 emissions, and of course all the Europe is waiting on what exactly will be the Green Deal, what will be the policies, what will be the effectors or sectors affected, etc. So there have been quite a lot of talks that transportation need to do more, that how buildings need to do more to increase our energy efficiency, etc. But I think more on a, let's say, on a political side, what is quite interesting proposal on the table is so-called green carbon tax or carbon tax. So basically what the EU is planning to do is, since we have a very high tax on CO2 emissions, and other countries and other producers, they can then produce more cheaply their products, and EU plans to put, or at least considers to put, the carbon tax on every product that comes outside from the EU. So in order to improve our producers' kind of competitive advantage.
Yes.
And then of course on the energy side, it's important renewable energy, more let's say innovative systems to have within the European Union to have in energy sector. And I think what is extremely important nowadays is to kind of have a common view on energy, on renewable energy, on energy efficiency and circular economy, which is Kadi is expert on this field. So yeah, the European Union tries to implement this Green Deal and have a more coherent or more holistic view on these two, maybe let's say the different sides of the same coin of energy and circular economy.
And coming back to circular economy, Kadi, can you please explain us what is the main characteristic of this circular economy process, how governments can develop this, and how even maybe we are at the individual level we can contribute in this circular economy process?
I think circular economy is now a concept that is not really foreign to anyone. Everybody's heard at least about what the circular economy. A completely different deal is whether people actually understand the meaning of it at all. In very simple terms, the whole idea is that materials are naturally intended to have an infinitive life. Meaning things can maybe only change shape, but they always remain as in use. They remain to be a resource wherever they are. So when it comes to circular economy, it means that anything that we use should have the longest possible lifespan, and when the particular item, I don't know, let's say it breaks, then it will find a way how to be either repaired or then recycled. Ideally, things should be always reused, and the idea of a circular economy concept also that we are looking at in the European Union is not only about circularity of things, but also the zero waste concepts in it, meaning while we aim for materials to go circular, then we do aim for as little material being used for satisfying our needs as possible. So there's a lot of refuse and reduce and reuse initiatives involved in circular economy concepts.
Yes.
And then it comes down to what it really means for anyone particularly. And then here is where we have to start talking about who are you? Like, what is your role in the economy? Who do you see yourselves to be? How do you influence materials? How do you use them? And what can be your role in order to reduce the amount of materials you use, and then the ones that you use, how you can make the best use of them?
And how to make best use of them at the EU level?
Oh, well, in the EU level, well, for example, today we are in a situation where European Union is importing 60% of all its raw materials that that fuels its economy.
Yes.
And at the same time, while we are the most progressive in the world when it comes to recycling and our policies, when it comes to adopting circular economy concepts, we're still really, really bad at taking the resource and reusing or recycling it, meaning that we are very, very independent of materials coming from the outside of the European Union. So for the European Union, it really means becoming even more transparent, being much more transparent in calculating, reporting, and knowing how we are really using our materials.
Yes.
If I can jump in here, I think Kadi has really struck on, let's say, a political. There is. You think that circular economy, it's a local thing. It's
an environmental problem.
It's a local environmental problem, of course, but it's dealt on a local way, or on a local scale. But I think there are definitely some quite significant geopolitical issues with this as well. Because I think it was like maybe 2 years ago when China banned all imports of recyclable plastics. So what the Western countries, as well, European Union as well as US did, they gathered all the plastic bottles, for instance, they sent it to China to be recycled. And then China said some years ago that no more, we won't take that. And Europe has had a problem. What we shall do with our recyclable plastic, because we didn't have any recycling facilities, any capacity to deal with this such a big mass of plastic bottles. And now we really see that is why European Union has really taken very active stance on it, very active position that we need to enhance our circular economy. We need to find way how to reuse or recycle all the materials we use. And I think it's quite significant to see that it all boils down to geopolitics. I think if China wouldn't have done this, EU wouldn't have any definite reason to develop these policies.
We were actually reporting really well in the World Bank reports on how we are able to manage our recyclables. But we only reported the recyclables we were recycling here, and there was actually a significant amount of materials we were exporting to Southeast Asia. So huge developments on that level show that we're actually not able to recycle what we have here, and there is never, and also when it goes to recycling rates, when talking about plastics, only 9% of all the plastics ever produced in the world has ever been recycled.
9%.
So 9%.
Crazy.
So that means that while I'm not against recycling, it's just obvious that only thinking that our solution is with recycling, there's not enough money in the world or resources to invest into just making recycling work. Something else has to happen as well. So recycling is, in the whole waste hierarchy, only the way to go once you weren't able to avoid generating recyclable waste.
I think it relates to this kind of idea to kind of reduce the resource use, so relates also to the energy sector, because what we see is that we take a lot of huge amounts of resources as oil, as gas, as coal. We put a lot of resources into basically making them market ready, and then we put them into a power station and quite inefficiently burn them.
Yep.
And I think that I like the idea that we should always figure out how to do less, how to use less, because I think it's a smart way. I personally want to always find ways how to reduce my inefficient consumption, I would say. Most of all, I hate things, so I hate buying myself new things. If I had two cups or two big spoons in my apartment, then I thought, what the hell, I don't need two of them, I need only one of them, and I gave one away. So and I think it's and it all boils down also to policy making level as well, because states don't have, their pockets aren't so stacked in Europe. They are stacked maybe in Arabic countries, but in Europe there is always budgetary problem, and we need to put the efforts where we can reduce the kind of consumption patterns or consumption, and that is why we see that there will be a lot of investments into energy efficiency. They say that our new commissioner, Kadi Kenk, Estonian energy commissioner, just today announced that one of the key components of the new Green Deal will be the house renovation project, that they will want to have 3 times as fast as renovation as it is today. So they will put a lot of effort into the reduction of energy consumption in buildings. So I think it's a smart and forward-looking way for the government, for the EU as a whole.
Yes, and Are there some regulation from the EU, like you're working now in the energy sector, so do you feel some pressure from the EU in terms of how to regulate this energy market in Estonia, for example?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Our whole energy market, how to say, our energy market is based on our European Union goals, what we have agreed on international. For instance, in my current position, the biggest or the most difficult thing I do right now is to negotiate new legislation on liquid fuels, on the fuels that we use every day in our cars. And the European Union Renewable Energy Directive has mandatory target for member states to have 10% of CO2-free fuels within our cars. And currently we are discussing with the Ministry of Environment, with the Ministry of Economic Affairs, and with the market participants. What is the, let's say, the cheapest and most efficient and most the wisest way to fulfill these goals? So yeah, we can say that our energy market is driven by EU legislation, by EU goals.
And regarding oil sector particularly, we know that oil is not so maybe eco-friendly source of energy, and there is like also some attempts to reduce like dependence on oil, and even to turn towards natural gas instead of oil and other renewable energy. And do you feel that this sector is becoming receiving less and less support and becoming less competitive, even I would say?
Definitely. I think our companies in Estonia and companies globally are seeing that there is definitely drive towards more renewable sources, and they are putting their efforts on finding new solutions, finding new technologies in order to reduce the emissions, in order to make the world more eco-friendly, the transport sector. Of course, since the transportation is, I think, most difficult sector, since there are so many actors, so many people rely daily on the ways of transportation, and I think it's a difficult way forward. But at least here in Estonia, our members, as well as other global players in the oil business, they all know that the sector is changing, and we need to figure out how to change with it, and how we can still provide ways of transportation to people all around the world, cheap and eco-friendly.
Yes. And Kadi,
Yes.
also, do you feel also these positive trends when you are working with local governments promoting this idea of circular economy? Do you see some real improvements in their actions, or it's going like very slowly and there's
Well, in
not
most
so much
cases,
progress?
you could say that waste is generated locally.
tegin selle bruschetta.
Aitäh, kui sa leiad soola ja pipart, oleks ka super. So waste is generated locally, and waste management is a local issue. So while state politics can help a lot to set boundaries or to incentivize certain type of behavior, then local governments have huge opportunities of changing things. And our foundation, for example, has particularly chosen to work with local governments and municipalities because they have such great opportunities.
Yes.
As long as there is political will, there really is a chance to start changing things. First of all, they are closer to their residents, seeing their attitudes, but also that they have the chance to choose what kind of contracts do they make with waste management companies, and what is the environmental standard they want to see in their municipality.
Yes.
The European Union is also issuing a paper that is separately going to be giving indications for very good. I just started to become a bit too serious.
Okay. My head bump
changed everything. Right. So the good news is that the local governments
the
also.
Good news is that I'm okay, right?
Yeah, very good. So the good news is that local governments are also receiving certain guidance how they can be the ones implementing the EU directives. It's not only something that should be done on a state level and then orders given to local levels, but local governments can actually take an initiative themselves.
Yeah.
And also why it's good is because local governments are way more competitive. They have believed if somebody's doing good, the others feel like they can follow, because they can compare themselves with rather a neighboring municipality than a country maybe on the other side of the European Union. So, so that's what local government level for sure is good for when we're talking about seeing fast change.
But which are these initiatives that you're talking about? They're mostly like educational, or like it's like financial support to companies, for example?
For sure, all the macro elements could actually be influenced from the governmental side, but the municipalities are small ecosystems where everything is covered. So, for example, municipalities that have done really well on throughout all the sectors, and covering, showing that the circular economy approach can actually be implemented on a business, municipality, a governance building, or a home or residence level. So we have great examples from Slovenia, which as a country has become the leading in promoting sustainable solutions and zero waste cities. We have the city of Milan from Italy, who is showing that you are pretty much capable of collecting nearly 100% of all the food waste from a city.
Wow!
And that's, Milan is a city with the number of residents of a country of Estonia. So it's kind of a proof that anything can work, right? So there are communal examples of how things can work. Now our role is to help them scale.
Yes. But in Estonia particularly, do you have some example from Estonia?
We have in the framework of certain solutions, for example, EPR schemes, extended producer responsibility for bottles, works incredibly well. Estonia is not only leading in Europe but in the world. We have incredibly high rates in collecting back bottles from the market, thanks to our system, not only because of the system but the way how we've implemented it.
Is it better than in Finland?
Yes.
Really?
We are really good. Something we can really declare being better at.
This competition between Estonia and Finland.
Well, we can compare ourselves with them, and they've always been, one step ahead in many things. So, of course, we're happy if something really works well. We are somebody to look up to in a way.
So, making some maybe already concluding remarks, can you please explain maybe us and our viewers how we can individually contribute in this green agenda, in circular economy, decarbonization, and in our environment?
Well, I suppose something that we already saw a good trend at, and what we can continue is when we are voting for our politicians in carrying in the important roles, whether in local governments, national governments, or European Union, then pay attention to their agenda. If there's nothing green said about anything, then well, that should be the red light already there. Just because we want to have politicians who are actually standing for our interests when it comes to sustainability. But when further from policy making, then it's really just vote with your feet, vote with your wallets. Go to places that you believe are environmentally friendly or supporting environmental initiatives, support volunteer organizations, contribute to them, buy, whenever possible, things that are fair trade, eco-labeled, locally grown, and in your diet, don't go extreme. You don't have to go all vegetarian on anyone, but just like question, which is fine, but question is reduction, not about complete ban of everything. Locally grown meat can be very good. What we're just talking about, don't eat red meat every day and every hour of the day.
Of course,
eat local and support local economies, and that's how we grow stronger also locally.
I think my main takeaway is be just smart. Just be smart. Think whether you need to buy these things that you're buying or not. You will save money. You will save time. You will save closet space. So just think about your steps. When you go out to buy something from grocery store, if you want to buy some meat, take your own package with you. Not because you use this package only for taking the meat home from the groceries and then just throwing it away. Just some regular, really small commercial habits. I think when we do it globally, when we do it every day, they will eventually make the change.
Yeah. Consider, I suppose, food-wise, a good comparison would be, they say that a human being needs around 2,000 calories of energy to survive a day, but are you really sure that this was the only amount of energy you actually consumed? So we are obviously way more energy needy, so let's try to optimize that and be smart and reasonable about it. It's it's like with any diet. If you say I'm gonna be on a diet, there's nothing else you want to do more than eat that another bar of chocolate. It's not about banning everything, about just take small steps but actually make them. Don't buy another plastic bottle if you've decided you're not going to do that, and carry on with those small changes.
Carry on with these changes, and you don't have to do everything drastically. You know what I'm afraid of? What is the most eco-friendly thing we need to do today is to eat this thing that we have.
I think so. I think our food also here ready, no?
It's quite ready, so we need to because otherwise we would be like just some false prophets. We need to eat this. Things we have cooked.
Let's not forget, Estonia is the 4th biggest food wasting country in European Union, so let's not contribute to that statistic.
Crazy.
We need to change it. So I think our food is ready. So now we can see the result, and it's a salad and
bruschetta.
Yes. And thank you for watching our video. And I think now we know how to be smart and responsible and to think about environment. And thank you.